Welcome to the Powercat Podcast, the original K-State sports show. Here's your host, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome to another edition of the Powercat Podcast, your second podcast of the week. If you watch The Insiders on Monday or Tuesday, whenever you watched it, you noticed Ryan Gilbert was a little down, a little out of it, a little throat issues, and, well, he's a lazy bum. But other than that, he's a good dude. So we gave him the day off. He's got the Big 12 Basketball Media Day on Wednesday in Kansas City. So you got Fitz, Big B, and Cole today for the podcast, and we're looking forward to it. And, of course, we are sponsored, as always, by the Fridge Wholesale Liquor. Make sure when you come to town Friday or Saturday, you've got plenty of time to stop in the fridge and say hi. Please make sure you tell them that you heard about them on the Powercat Podcast, and you're here because you're supporting the Powercat Podcast. Please, no matter what show you're watching on YouTube, or support their sponsors whenever possible. So please support the Fridge. Big B, how's it going? I haven't seen you in like, I don't know, 6 hours?
I don't even know if it's been 6, but I'm doing all right. Hey, hanging in there.
Yeah, it's I love football season. I mean, because Cole, every day has a role. Basketball, you got a game here, a game there, and they just kind of pop up, and your week gets shuffled. You move podcasts around, but we've got the Insiders that goes on the website at Tuesday at midnight. It actually is live Monday on YouTube. And then we got this for Wednesdays, the pregame podcast for Thursday, and you and Monty Spiller kick some butt. I think it might be our most popular podcast right now with the Friday walkthrough. I think this one's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Anytime we can get the perspective of a former Kansas State player, that's why it's always great to have Brian on the show with us, especially when it's KU week. It turns everybody up and fires everybody up. I'm excited to get into this podcast. I'm excited for the Friday walkthrough because really, guys, it's KU week, just like we said.
It's KU week. And Big B, what's KU week to mean in that locker room?
I mean, it means a lot. Look, let's just call it what it is. It means a ton to the Kansas kids.
Right.
A lot of Look, I'm not from Kansas, so initially it wasn't that big of a deal to me. And I'll be honest, it's because KU sucked. And, no other reason than that. It's just like, yeah, I get it. They're in the state and it's supposed to be a big rivalry, but they're literally not any good. Now, that was a long time ago. They're better now, but it didn't mean that much to us. But you could tell it meant a ton to the kids that were from Kansas. It meant a ton. So if it meant a ton to them, then it meant a ton to us because they were our brothers. And so it started to be that. Just wasn't that initially, but yeah, it's a big deal. It really is.
And I think Ryan Wallace shared the stat with us, like 43% of that locker room at K-State is Kansas kids.
Yep.
It's closer to 25, 26% down in Lawrence, which is higher than it has been in the past. So credit for that. But this game has meant more to the state of Kansas, Kansas State in the state of Kansas, and they've won 15 in a row, Cole. This won't be easy to make it 16. This KU team is much better than that 2-5, and they're dangerous.
No doubt about it. I mean, every time we talk about Kansas, we always have to have that caveat of, well, they've had a lead in all of those late games, and they've lost every single one of them. And so it's cliche to say, but the ball bounces one way or another, and this Kansas team is ranked inside the top 25, fighting for a spot in the Big 12 championship game. The margin of error is extremely slim, and this Kansas team has walked it.
Yep. Well, this is the Questions Podcast, the original version. If you are not a subscriber to Go Powercat, you can, of course, watch or listen to this podcast for free. But if you want to ask the questions, you got to be a VIP over at Go Powercat. Go check that out. I think you'll enjoy it. It's a great season. I think some big things will be cooking through football and basketball. I'm excited, strangely, for the overlap of the two seasons, which isn't normal. But let's get going with your podcast with your questions from Wabash Station. In the absence of Gills, Cole Carmody takes over the reading responsibilities.
First question from Optimistic. Fitz, I think this is a question that we can probably go pretty quickly with, and it's for you. How is Avery's hip?
Well, hey, I love Avery. So last week I asked him, how do you feel? And he said, good. That was it. I gave him the closed-end question, and he took advantage of it. This week, I asked him, Avery, compared to last week, how does your body feel? And he said much better. I think he's He's pretty healthy for this game. Look, everyone's a little beat up. As you know, Big B, you get to the 8th game of the season, everyone's bruised up, particularly a quarterback who's taken some hits. But guys, Cole, he had a lot of time to operate. He didn't get really hit last week. He didn't run the ball, which was taken out of the game plan. I couldn't just come out and say that during the game. Folks, he's not running the ball. But yeah, that wasn't part of the game plan. He didn't have to run the ball. He didn't get sacked. The offensive line did a good job. And I think he's in really good shape coming into this game.
He said in his post-game press conference, Fitz, that he didn't get tackled one time. So
Crazy.
Those quarterbacks don't get tackled in practice either. So really the last time that he was been tackled would have been the Colorado game. And so, going into Kansas, that's essentially 2 weeks where he hasn't been tackled. He hasn't been hit hard. And so I think, he's probably as ready to go as anyone. But again, I think this question asks, how's this hip? I think they are going to unleash that playbook, whatever they need to do to win the game on Saturday. It will be available. If the quarterback run doesn't end up happening, it's because either DJ Giddens has 175 yards rushing or Avery Johnson has 300 yards passing, like we've seen each of the last 2 weeks.
Big B, I don't see any version of events here where Avery Johnson will agree to not run the ball in this game. I think he's ready to get going.
Absolutely not. And the rushing numbers from last week against West Virginia are jaded. And the reason that I say that, and I mentioned it to you on the live after the game, is that Avery Johnson didn't run the football. There were multiple times on zone reads that he could have kept the football and just run for a minimum 15 yards. Just didn't do it. So if that's KU's plan and they're just going to say, well, we're just not even going to cover Avery Johnson on any zone reads, well, be prepared for him to run up and down the field. And my favorite phrase, Fitz, as you know, doing wind sprints up and down the field. And so if that's really – I don't think that's going to be their plan. But if it is, you're going to be in trouble because he will be running the football this week. I have zero doubt in my mind.
I agree. I think that's going to be a big part of this game plan because KU had problems with Garrett Green, as K-State sort of did until he went out with an injury. I think that quarterback run game is going to be crucial for the Wildcats in this contest. So to get back to the question, I think he's healthy and ready to go. 100%. Nope, nobody is, but I don't think he'll be slowed down in this game.
Next question comes from Claws Out, Balls Out. How odd to basically have 3 secondary coaches, that's Chris Kleiman, Joe Klinnerman, and Van Malone, and still struggle. Shouldn't this be a strength of the team every year?
That's actually kind of valid. I really hadn't thought about it. I think, I don't know. It's mostly zone coverage, and man, they've been good. They can run with people. I'll be interested to see how they approach this. And Big B, we'll get into this probably a little bit on the pregame podcast that we'll record tomorrow as we get to talk every day. It's a special part of my day. But I think it'll be interesting to see what they do in their secondary, K-State. They're much better in man. And with Jalen Daniels and Devin Neal, I can see them committing some more resources to be up by the line of scrimmage.
I think they're going to have to stop the run. Or, I mean, I say that. It's not like K-State's got a bad run defense because they don't. It's really good.
No.
So they might roll some coverage and bring a safety down late, on obvious rundowns, stuff like that. But what I think is it's a valid question. I really do think this is a valid question. And the part that's really disturbing, and I know K-State fans aren't going to like this, but the communication aspect when you have the head coach, the D coordinator, and a defensive back coach, it's all back there. It's like, how are we having communication issues? It's just something that shouldn't happen, but it's a problem. But sometimes when you have a problem, just don't overthink stuff.
Yeah.
Just do what you do best and let the chips fall where they may. Not great in zone. We're good in man. Just play man. I know that can get you into trouble sometimes, especially with a running quarterback when guys got their backs turned, but it is what it is. If the D-line and the front seven do their job, then the quarterback's not going to get a ton of running lanes. So, but I love the question. I really do. I think it's a great question. The answer is not really the answer that we want to hear. It's just, it's like, I don't know. I really don't know how we're having those kind of problems.
Cole, they've shown some signs of being improved in zone. I mean, we saw an interception against Arizona, and then Marquise Siegel had one against West Virginia when they broke on the ball. And that's one of the things that frustrates me often about how K-State plays in zone. They don't react to the ball. They seem to be covering a piece of real estate instead of being attentive to the receivers in their area. And that's when I really lose my mind with zone coverage.
I think that comes from just overthinking and maybe not, I don't want to say inexperience, but maybe just not playing as many snaps together as need be. And I know that kind of sounds crazy considering that Marquise Siegel, Jacob Parrish, Keenan Garber all played, and VJ Payne all played together last year, but they're all enhanced roles for all of those guys. And I think losing Kobe Savage really, really was bigger than people want to admit as far as communication goes. But guys, answer the question too. Like, I don't necessarily know that the secondary has been bad. Think back to 2022. And the reason why they were good in the secondary is because you had a guy who ends up winning a Super Bowl ring in Echo Boydo on one corner, another guy who starts in the NFL as a rookie in Julius Brents at the other corner. The year before that, you had a guy who was a starting safety now in the NFL in Rush East. And so they've kind of had talented players in the back end. And so I don't want to say that this secondary maybe just, I almost want to say they're not as good as they have been, but that's probably because they don't have the dudes that they've typically had. And we might not have thought of them as dudes at the time, but when they go on to play in the NFL, it turns out that they were all kind of dudes. And so I don't know how many of those guys they have right now, but yeah, it's interesting. It really is an interesting question.
Well, I think the guys were just better.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that the guys that we have now, that mean that they're not playing bad. Right. Because you get a quarterback that goes 34 for 40 for 388. He's doing something. And again, and he did it with number 3 and number 4 receivers out there. So I know what you're saying because you're right, Cole. I think it's more K-State guys were just better than maybe we wanted to give them credit for, because just what you said, you're not playing in the NFL if you're not any good. That's not happening. Or let me say this. You're not playing in the NFL if you're average. That you don't do that. That's not what the NFL is, a bunch of average guys out there. So K-State just had guys that were really good, but the secondary has been a little bit of a letdown this year. But look, there's still more football to be played, so they have the opportunity to just be better. Here's a good week to go show that.
The thing about playing in the secondary is there's no hiding your mistakes.
Nope.
Yeah, it's
like
not
left tackle.
Yeah.
Left tackle can play great all game. You give up one sack and you're horrible. Same thing with the corner.
So I think K-State is good in the secondary, but they could be great. They still got room to improve. And if you're looking at this K-State team, I still see a lot of ceiling left to reach. And I don't think they're near it. So they might even have a better level of football to go, but they're down to 5 games in the regular season. And it's time to really start cleaning those things up to get ready for whatever's coming and just start picking off wins. And if the secondary locks down to go with that incredible run defense that K-State has, this is going to be a really salty defense.
No doubt. Next question comes from Florida Cat Fan 90. First off, before we read this question, I've seen his posts on the boards. Florida Cat Fan, hope you're doing well. Obviously, everybody else in Florida been thinking about you all recently with the hurricane. So hope that you and your family are well off, and obviously wishing everyone a speedy recovery. He asks, I find it puzzling that we do not run design plays off tackle. We ran one against West Virginia with Dylan, and it was the longest run by him or DJ for the game. It seems we are either up the middle or jet sweep run outside. DJ has some that end up that way because he's great and has great vision and patience. You would think that with Dylan's speed and DJ's cut abilities, that would give them an option of breaking in or out once they hit the hole.
Big B?
Here's the thing. Maybe the offensive line isn't suited to run a lot of off-tackle plays. You know, I get what they're saying. Like, we don't run a ton of just like power tosses or outside zone. It's more inside zone. It's more power game, you know, pulling guards and things of that nature. I think we could do some of that, but again, I'm not at practice, so I don't know what the offensive line, just watching practice, games are something different, but just watching practice, maybe it's not their strong suit. You know, if you don't have the most athletic guys out there, you don't want to be running a bunch of toss sweeps and outside zone plays, because all those guys are going to do is just get outrun to the corner, and it doesn't do you any good. but you can run inside zone plays. You can run off tackle inside off tackle, more power game than trying to run a bunch of toss sweeps. I get it. Our guys are fast, but if you don't have anybody blocking for you out there, it doesn't matter. Now, again, I'm not saying that that's necessarily the case. I don't want somebody, Big B said the offensive line is unathletic. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is the coaches see these guys every day in practice. They know what they do and don't block well. So if you're not seeing it in a game, maybe that's just not their strong suit. Doesn't mean they can't do it, but it's not their strong suit.
Big B says got it right here. Look, every game's different. Every defense is different. We might see something completely different here. Maybe they've been saving some stuff for this game, because if you look back at the start of the season, you probably wanted to be really prepared for Kansas. I don't think that's changed, even though the record isn't nearly what we expected at the start of the year. I think they might have some stuff that they've been sitting on, and I hope we get to see it. They need to open this offense up a little bit more every week, because they've got some stuff between Dylan Edwards and DJ Giddens and Avery Johnson we still haven't seen. We need to see it. In fact, I'm going to start a petition to demand to see it, because I think that could get very interesting. And I would like to see Dylan get to the edge a little bit more, maybe off tackle, trying to, run all the way around. It doesn't always work. I'm not a big fan of, sweeps unless it's something deceptive like a jet sweep coming through with a receiver. But yeah, look, what they're doing at running back and the offensive line is working. It's hard to complain when DJ Giddens is averaging 6.7 yards per carry after his worst game of the season.
Correct.
He dropped from 7.2 to 6.7, and they're doing it between the tackles, and God bless him, he's really good at it.
And another thing to think about too, guys, is like, just because the play doesn't end up off tackle doesn't mean that's where it was called. And I think with DJ, he's so good about having that cutback. And so a lot of the times those off tackle plays, even inside zone plays where, okay, it's supposed to hit, right off the tackles, but well, if the offensive line caves everybody's down and DJ gets the ball and sees a cutback lane, puts his foot in the ground and gets 6 or 7 yards, like, he's so good at that just because it doesn't end up an off-tackle play doesn't mean it wasn't called an off-tackle play. And so I think that you have to cater to your offensive line, your running back strength. And I think any play that allows DJ to find some kind of hole is the offensive play that you need to call, because he really does have really good vision.
I'm just so impressed by him. His vision, his ability to feel space.
Yes.
I mean, he gets into the heart of a defense and just plants a foot and ends up in open space. He did it against Colorado while he's still in the hole.
Yeah.
And he dumps Shiloh Sanders on his butt, making a move as he comes through the line of scrimmage. He has gotten so definitive in what he's doing with the ball. He doesn't seem to think, he just reacts. And it is absolutely beautiful to watch. He is turning into, look, Sproles and Vaughn were so much fun because they were shifty and explosive and, little guys doing big guy work. DJ is the full package. And to have him have these kind of moves, elusiveness and vision, and now he's, I don't know if he's gotten faster or more confident, but he's showing some breakaway too. I'm just really impressed where DJ Giddens is at. And I think the only way Kansas stops him from having a big game is by doing what West Virginia did and surrendering to the passing game, which I think Avery proved you don't want to do.
No. And that's the thing. That might be the strategy. Make Avery throw the football to beat us. Well, he did it, and he's going to do it again. Feeling good. But again, like I mentioned at the top of this, a lot of the stuff, the running game will open up for DJ because Avery's going to run the football.
Right.
And if Avery runs the football, he's not just running it up the middle. He's running it on zone reads. He's going to be able to run outside, because the first time you run a zone read to that defensive end and you're reading them, if he doesn't take DJ, Avery's out the gate. And that's just the way it's going to be. And it's just something that they didn't do at West Virginia, and for good reason. I get it. I understand that. But you mentioned about DJ, how good he is, Fitz. Yeah. To me, his vision, but it's more, to me, it's his balance.
Oh,
His balance and what he can do in a hole and the moves that he can make while staying on his feet and through contact. That's, to me, it separates him. Look, I've said it a million times, and I'll say it a million more. He's an NFL running back. He's not going to go as high as what everybody thinks he should because he's not going to go out and run a 4.3 40. He's not going to do that, but he's going to get into somebody's roster, and by the middle of training camp, somebody's going to say, wow, I didn't know that this guy was this good. And he's going to end up starting in this league in that league for the next 8 years at running back, at being a 5th round draft pick because he didn't go out and run a 4.3 40. It's just how good he is. He is.
I love how you accidentally slipped on your NFL cap there for a second. This league, when you're talking about, since you do NFL content too, that was kind of funny. Cole, is that it for the first half?
Yep.
That's it for the first half of the podcast. I want to say I apologize. I've yawned or fighting yawns. I am a tired boy. Gilbert's got the day off. We're trying to recover from the road tour. K-State, KU, thankfully in Manhattan, Saturday night at the Bill. We'll be right back with the second half of the Powercat podcast. Let's hear from the Fridge Wholesale Liquor.
We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors.
Please visit the Fridge Wholesale Liquor, located at the corner of Claflin and Westport Road in Manhattan, Kansas.
Welcome back to the show. Let's return to the Cats and Dogs studio.
Welcome back to the Powercat podcast. Fitz and Brian Hanley and Cole Carmody is your trio today. I got to say this. People brag about their lineups. I've got the best starting lineup in the Big 12. Guys, thank you so much. It's amazing. Gilbert and I, we're the full-timers. We're at the game in Morgantown. There's no way we can do a podcast. I didn't sleep. There's no way. You two and Monty Spiller do the post-game podcast, and I've heard so many good things about it. I haven't even had time to watch it. That's how bad this run of games here has been. But it is so nice to know that I can just go do my work and you guys are going to take care of stuff, and it's going to be outstanding work. Thank you so much. And let's return to the podcast. I'm done kissing your butts.
Thank you. You're going to make me cry, Fitz. First question. First of all, let me just say the questions this week are really good because sometimes at this point in the year, guys, it can kind of monotonous and we'll hear the same questions over and over again. This is a really good question from CW Powercat. When is the last time K-State's offense ran a true trick play? Oklahoma State's double pass touchdown on Friday was sweet and made me realize that I can't remember the last time we pulled one off.
I think that might be because they don't need to.
Bingo.
But I wouldn't mind it. I like the fact that K-State scores a lot of points without having to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I think it's a sign of how good you are. And plus, you don't have to put it on the field. I sometimes feel like teams run trick plays just because it's in the toy chest.
Yeah.
And now they put it on film and okay. So I'm not sure. What K-State does is this was something I missed during the course of the game, and I have to compliment the Fox commentators for catching it. On the DJ Giddens touchdown pass, it was signaled a wheel route. Avery gave his signal that he's given every time they want to run that wheel route out, DJ leaking out, and DJ started there and cut up field and just left the corner or safety in the wrong spot, and he was wide open. That is their version of a trick play. You may not see it, but it tricked the hell out of the opposition because they thought they had it scouted, and oh no, Connor Riley was one step ahead of them. I think this offense, and Connor Riley as a play caller, is really finding its rhythm, finding what works and what they can lean on and what they need to do. They've gotten really consistent with it. So if they're running trick plays, it might mean they need to score some points. They need to come from behind.
Yeah, I think trick plays are fun, but trick plays are for fans. Trick plays are not to win football games. They're just not. They never have been, never will be. You put them in because you're struggling to be able to find something that's going to work, and you have to trick the defense into being able to try to get some momentum. That's what trick plays are for. I'm not saying they can't be effective. Oklahoma State ran one against us, and it was effective. But I don't know. I'm not even an old school type of person. I like new school type of stuff, but running trick plays, to me, you just don't need to do that. You really don't. I mean, there's a time and a place for everything. If you're moving the football, why waste momentum? How many times have we seen teams that are going up and down the field, got a good rhythm, and then they run a double reverse pass, or then they run a reverse and the guy loses 8 yards or something like that, just because the offensive play caller is feeling good about himself, and then he calls a play, and then all the momentum stops. There's just no need to do that. Get in a rhythm, get it going. If you're not in a rhythm and you need to get something going, great. And I would think maybe against West Virginia, that might have been the perfect time. They had a million guys at the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
But then again, it was, no, we don't need to run a flea flicker. We'll just drop back and throw it over your head, and you're not going to be able to cover us. So I kind of think that works too.
So here's where I'm at, guys. I think that there's 2 ways of looking at this, and I will let you guys into the secrets of the Olathe North football coaching staff here for a moment. Every week, we put in a different trick play that we think will work against the defense. And every week it's different. Guess how many trick plays we've called all year? We've actually called 1. That was it.
Okay.
That was it. But every week it's a completely new play. And we think, oh, this play is going to work 100%. And you're right. The last time we called a trick play, we were up 21-7 in the 4th quarter. And we wanted to just, see if it worked.
Running up the score there at Olathe.
Did it work?
Right. We had to find a way to get a win somehow. Right. But either way, I feel like that's kind of how K-State is. I guarantee you they have a trick play this week that they're like, oh, this play is going to work 100%. No doubt about it. They feel confident about it. They probably practiced it and practice. All the players want to run it, but they're not going to call it, because why would you if what you're doing is working? And so I get so frustrated when I watch the Chiefs guys, because Andy Reid will get down to the goal line, and instead of turning around and handing the ball off to Isaiah Pacheco or now Kareem Hunt, he'll literally, guys, they brought in Carson Wentz on Sunday, and they snapped him the ball in a 3-point stance, and he did a little shovel pass. I'm like, what are we doing? You have the best red zone target in the history of the NFL in Travis Kelce, and you would rather have snapped the ball to Carson Wentz and have him flick it to McCole Hardman. What are we doing? So, I love Andy Reid and I love the Chiefs, but that goes right along with the trick play question. Big B, you always say it all the time. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I've got an explanation for why the Chiefs do that as we end up in the NFL here again. That he's got Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce on his offense, and they're like giant children. You have to keep them entertained at practice. He literally sends them down to create a play every week. It's like little kids. Go play in the sandbox for a while and come back and let me know what you came up with. And they put it on the field once in a while. I think it keeps it fun for the players, but I don't see K-State running trick plays unless they need it, and that's all the better. They're not showing it. They're not showing a propensity to do it. That should mean if they execute it, it's going to be more effective. Nicole, you didn't hear me. Did the trick play work that you guys ran?
Well, it was wide open, and it was like a receiver pass, and he just overthrew our receiver. It was going to be a touchdown, but he overthrew him for an incomplete pass.
I hope he got yelled at.
It reminds me of 1998 in Missouri. Bill Snyder, we had trick plays. We ran a million of them in summer camp. I mean, if we ran one, we ran 50 of them. We literally had a session of trick plays. We called one in the 2 years that I was there, and it was wide open, wide receiver pass, a throwback to Michael Bishop. There were 4 linemen that were in front of them. They had one guy there, and Mike dropped the ball. I'm like, holy, wide open, perfect pass, and he drops the ball. I'm like, Lord have mercy. All week long, we worked on it. We're like, this will work. As soon as we throw it over here, they're going to sprint over, and that's exactly what happened. Drop the ball. Unbelievable. And we never ran another one again. Yeah. And I remember coming off the sideline, and I'd never seen – Coach Snyder was so mad because he's like, I never call trick plays. The one time I do, it's wide open, and you drop – oh, my goodness. I was like, I didn't drop the ball. I'm good. So I was out there to block somebody, man. I had nobody to block. I'd have just been celebrating in the end zone, but nope, dropped the ball. Terrible.
Very good. Speaking of blocking, one guy who is hard to block is a guy by the name of Brendan Mott. El Camino Cat wants to know, the KSU season sack record is 11.5. It is held in a 4-way tie between Jordan Willis, Ryan Mueller, Ian Campbell, and Niall Wyron. I believe that's how you say his name, guys. I'm not familiar with Mr. Wyron.
Wyron.
He says Mott has 7 sacks already this season, and there are at least 6 games remaining. Can Mott get the 5 more sacks he needs to become the record holder?
God, that snuck up on me. El Camino, you're always on top of things. Your questions are always so good. Yeah, he could get there. And here's why. Because defenses are paying attention to him. And he's still getting there. Because so often he doesn't get there on the first rush. He never stops playing.
Correct.
He doesn't surrender. If the play's still going, Brendan Mott's still running. He plays so damn hard.
Yep.
And he just chases guys down. He's fun to watch. That'd be really cool. And the names you just listed, Cole, are remembered throughout K-State history. Those are great players. The fact that Brendan Mott might end up in that group is absolutely awesome. And just like Ben Sennett, another one of those unexpected players that came up through the ranks and it's kind of self-made. They weren't expected to be at this level. Maybe they could contribute. They turn into stars. We all thought 2 years ago Mott got all the stats because of King Felix being on the other end. And yeah, he struggled a little bit last year at times. And he came back this year and he has been absolutely dominant at times. He's fun to watch. And now he's got a lot of young guys and other guys at the other end that you can't ignore because they'll get after you too. So this pass rush, I think is pretty good. They may not always get home with their rush, but they impact the game quite a bit.
Pass rush is not always about getting sacks because there's so many aspects into getting a sack. Is it a quick game? Are other guys in the way? Does the quarterback step up and cause you to, even though you're free, if he steps up and another guy's not getting a rush, he can get the ball off. So there's a lot of stuff that has to go into a sack versus you just beating your man and that's it. Because if it was that easy, there'd be a lot more sacks in football games. Having said all of that, yeah, he's got an opportunity. Plenty of football left. There's going to be plenty of opportunities. Teams are going to throw the ball against Kansas State, so we're going to see. But yeah, I don't think there's any question that he has an opportunity to break the sack record if he keeps going, because it's like Fitz said, his motor. I'm not saying he's the most athletic guy, although he's very athletic. I'm not saying he's the most technically sound guy, although he's super technically sound. Yeah. But motor, you can't judge motor. You can't even teach motor. I mean, either you have it or you don't, and he's got it. And that has taken him this far. It could take him even further. I don't know. But I know right now, man is on a mission. He's playing lights out football and couldn't be happier for him.
Big B, is he big enough for the NFL?
Not at that position. Not a defensive end. I think he could be a good outside linebacker. Defensive end, you can't play that at his weight. He's too little. And the tackles are way too athletic these days and big. You think about an offensive tackle, right? They average about 6'5", 325, 330, and they're moving out there like tight ends. And they bench press 500, 600 pounds. So no, not at that. I know what people are going to say. TJ Watt, he's not TJ Watt. So we should stop that. And because TJ Watt isn't the biggest guy out there. He isn't, but he's still 260 pounds.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's not like TJ Watt. The comparison that people bring up is Derek Thomas. I'm not saying compared Brendan Mott to Derek Thomas, but Derek Thomas was only 225 pounds. He wasn't some big guy out there running around. But the offensive tackles weren't that big when Derek Thomas was playing, number one. And also, Derek Thomas, God rest his soul, he was horrendous against the run. He would literally come out of games against the run because he was too little. He was literally too little. So, and that's the difference. But can he be a defensive end? I mean, if he puts on the weight and he keeps his speed and athleticism, sure. I'm just not sure that's the case. but put him in the 3-4 system and let him be an outside linebacker. I think he can do that.
Now, I want to point this out. We talk a lot about our defensive end play at Kansas State and sacks. Brendan Mott's been really good against the run.
Yeah, he is.
He's a pest. I mean, he just gets a hold of guys and takes them down. He's become an absolutely complete player. I'm just blown away by his progress. And guys, I think we need to tip the hat to the coaches because we're seeing a lot of guys. DJ Giddens was never expected to be this way. Brendan Mott, Ben Sinnott last year. You can just go through the whole roster. The whole linebacking crew is basically that. They're developing players at an incredible rate, and that's a tip of the hat. But Mott has earned it. I'm glad he came back because El Camino, you're right. If he keeps playing at this rate, he's going to easily break that record, and we'll see what happens.
If you would have told me before last year that Damian Alalio, Cody Stufflebean, and Brendan Mott would be the starting three, I would have been like, okay, is K-State winning 2 games? Seriously, those guys, it's a credit to them. They've worked their butts off. Brendan Mott and throw in Cody and Damian in there because those guys, it's not easy to stay in a program for as long as those guys have been into a program in today's age of college football, but they have all been amazing contributors, and Brendan Mott is definitely the exclamation point on that.
Agreed.
Next question comes from Matthew KSU 20. He says, looking ahead, are there going to be over or under 4 teams eligible for the conference championship game heading into the last weekend of the season?
I need to look at Colorado's schedule better.
I'm going to say under.
Under. Yeah, I think so. I don't see anyone beating BYU. If it happens, it might be this weekend. It's just going to happen when we don't expect it, which is pretty much our schedule from here on out, other than Utah. But, I guess that one being in Salt Lake City and being a rivalry game, who knows? But I think they'll be unbeaten. And I think Iowa State might well be unbeaten when Kansas State goes up there. And if not, they'll have one loss, which means that game still could probably decide the second spot in the conference championship game. Colorado, I think, can run the table. And, this gets back to our whole discussion about maybe sneaking a second team into the playoff and maybe even making them ponder a third team. I don't think that'll happen. But no, I think we talked about it on the Big 12 Insiders with Tuesday's show. Big B and we go through his rankings. And Big B, I think we agree. We now know the top 4 teams in this conference.
We do.
There's more football to be played. They've only played 4 out of 9 games. They got more football in the conference played than they've already played. But I think it's pretty clear at this point, BYU, Iowa State, Kansas State, and Colorado are not only the best teams, but they're showing the most consistency. And I think it's going to come down to those 4 teams. But Colorado's the one that needs help, and everyone else controls their own destiny. And we'll see how it plays out. But and with that said, 3 weeks from now, there could be 2 other teams in the mix because there's teams that are right there. Tech only has 1 loss. They looked horrible last week, but teams get better and gather their senses and start playing better football. So we'll see how that all pans out.
I would say the thing about it is, Fitz, you mentioned Colorado. I pulled up their schedule here. They got Cincinnati, huge game this weekend. Then they go to Tech. They got Utah, at Kansas, and then at home against Oklahoma State. That's not the most difficult of schedule. So it's manageable.
Yeah,
it's manageable. I know people looked at Utah and thought, and now Utah's falling apart. That's a win. Colorado can go there and win, or beat them. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to say it's probably, I'll take even. I think 4 teams going into the last weekend. I think that's what it'll be. I really do. And the reason that I say that, I just trust what you said, Fitz. The top teams in this conference are going to continue to do their thing. They're just going to continue to win, and things are going to even itself out. Big game this weekend, though, with Colorado and Cincinnati. That'll be closer than what maybe a lot of people think. It's at night. How does Cincinnati handle everything that comes with playing at Colorado at night? And I know what people are thinking. What do you mean? We were just there. It's a show. It is an absolute show. It is way more than just a football game, man. And your kids got to be ready for that because you'll get out there and you'll be standing. K-State did a really good job of this because you'll get out there and you'll be standing on the field during warmups, and all you'll be doing is looking at all the celebrities that are surrounding the football field. And it's the truth. Heck, I was one of those people. I was just standing there. I was like,
celebrities?
Holy mackerel.
He was one of the celebrities. He was one of the celebrities that was on the field.
Yes, Kevin Durant asked for Big B's autograph. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing to see. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I would say I'm going to go the over on this, or I'll say there'll be at least 4. That's what I'll say. I'll say there will be 4 going into the last week of the season.
I agree.
So with the math on that, guys, just so everyone listening is on the same page. So Colorado has 1 loss. K-State has 1 loss. Iowa State has none. BYU has none.
Right.
So that would mean that everybody would have to have 1 loss, correct?
Nope, not BYU.
Okay, so Iowa State would have to have a loss.
And this is after the last game of the season, what you're saying. Going into the last week.
They
can be undefeated. Iowa State and BYU can be undefeated.
And Colorado would still have a shot because
no, not at that point.
Unless
so.
Colorado.
It depends on the tiebreakers.
Right.
It depends on how the tiebreakers work. Because if Colorado ends up with 1 loss, how does that tiebreaker work with them and BYU? Or them in Iowa State? You know what I'm saying? It's just, and since we don't know how the Big 12 tiebreakers work,
it's clearly written down, Big B. It's clear as a bell. Which, by the way, bells aren't clear. I don't understand that.
Also, guys, the number 1 tiebreaker obviously is head-to-head. Colorado and BYU don't play each other. Number 2 tiebreaker is the next highest ranked opponent or whatever, and BYU beat K-State. And Colorado lost to K-State. So I think if there's 1 loss, then BYU would get in over Colorado.
Yeah, and let's be honest. If K-State is at 1 loss, it means they've got wins over Colorado and Iowa State.
Right.
Puts K-State in a really good
That's
situation.
why I think that everybody has to have 1 loss in order for Colorado to be in that. So I think BYU is going to run the table. So that's why I'm taking the under, because I think
here's what I would say, and this is probably going to trip people up, is if it came down to like Iowa State and Colorado getting into the college football playoff, and Colorado has 2 losses and Iowa State has 1, and they don't look great, you don't think the college football playoff committee would take Colorado over them? They absolutely would.
They won that show.
Yep.
In a heartbeat, they would take them over them. In a heartbeat. Let K-State blow out Iowa State and Colorado run the table, and it comes down to, you know what? We can get a 3rd Big 12 team in here. It will be Colorado without any question.
I also would love to see Colorado and K-State play in the Big 12 championship game. Can you imagine Deion's back in Dallas? Like the whole entire Cowboys team would be on the sidelines for that game. The storylines would be incredible. So sign me up for Colorado.
They don't do anything on the field.
Cole.
Yeah.
Sorry. I didn't mean to say that.
Cole, I'm going to disagree with you, and you want to know why?
Because you don't want K-State to play Colorado.
I think Colorado's really damn good.
Yeah, they are. They are.
I think they have turned into possibly the best team in this conference, and K-State found a way to win.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm with you guys. It's going to be fun the rest of the way, no doubt about it. The last question of the podcast from Ite and BB. We can have this conversation because Ryan Gilbert is not here, and everybody on this panel will have an opinion. Which one will we see first, the script cats or the all-white unis?
All-white unis. Because it's easy. I mean, you can just run a Powercat on a white hat. I don't know.
We're not seeing that anytime soon.
I think they're going to stick with the Powercat. I just have a feeling. I don't know. I don't think they're ever going to wear anything. I've given up.
Yeah.
It's going to be the Sunflower Showdown forever and the 89 throwbacks. I have no impact on any of this.
I don't think they're trying to get away from the Powercat altogether, though, right?
No. I think just as an alternative, the script cats. A lot of people love the Pin It Willie. Like that was our mascot in college. Right. We hated it because it was not serious looking. Now it's a cool alternate. The coaches wear the old, I don't know what season it was, 68, the K, big K with little state, which I like, and I think that might sneak onto a helmet. But yeah, I don't know. All white seems like an easy move for them.
let me just say this, and this is going to be to the detriment, or maybe not the detriment, but K-State fans aren't going to like this. But I'm going to say it anyway. I don't understand why we don't embrace the new uniform. And I'm not talking about K-State fans in general. I'm just maybe coaches, whoever makes the decisions. Why don't you embrace it when you know that is what attracts college kids? And I know the argument, oh, it shouldn't matter what the uniforms are. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I'm sorry. That matters to kids. It just matters. It may not matter to me, may not matter to somebody else my age, but to kids, it matters. So why not just do it? It's an easy thing to do. Hey, Nike, you want to come up with about 4 different uniforms for us? Perfect. We'll have it. We've had them here for 20 years, K-State. Here you go. Simple. I just don't understand why we don't. Now, I get why Coach Snyder didn't do that.
Right.
I understand that. But Coach Snyder is no longer the coach at Kansas State. We have a new one. We can do something different. It is okay, and kids do respond to it. And no, it's not unlucky, and there's no jinx that comes along with the uniform. Stop.
Are you
I
sure?
think the jinx is built into the fact that they never do it.
There you go.
And it becomes too big of a
You wouldn't have
deal.
to worry about it.
Just do it once a season. And again, this was Zach Carlson's thing. I agree with him. Do exactly what other programs do. Here's what we're going to wear every game in the season. And you announce it before the season. Here's all the combinations we have. We're going to wear this and this. So it's no big surprise. There's no unveiling.
No.
I don't
Even
know.
if there is, I'd be fine with that if you did it on Friday, have an unveiling. But here's what I would say. And I know the argument, well, Penn State doesn't do anything different. And Alabama doesn't do anything different. But Notre Dame does. Oklahoma does. Ohio State does.
Texas wants one.
I mean,
Michigan?
You're telling me that those aren't rich tradition programs? Of course they are. If they can do it, Kansas State can do it too. And it's just time. It's just time. And it's something easy. And once you do it, and I get it, they don't want to wear the lavender jerseys. I think I would be out on that. But there's plenty of other combinations that K-State could go to. Plenty of others.
Like I've been saying, if they go to white pants, instead of having a silver stripe, have a lavender stripe.
There you go.
I mean, you don't need a lavender jersey. You can do lavender highlights.
Correct.
And I mean, you could have lavender numbers outlined in purple on a white top. That'd be pretty damn cool. And you could even do I know people don't want a lavender helmet, but that'd be pretty damn cool with the purple Powercat.
You could.
I have an idea too, Fitz. Guys, for this game on Saturday, how cool would it be if Bill Snyder Family Stadium completely white? It was a whiteout. The team wore their all white jerseys and KU rolled in their all black jerseys. I think that would be a spectacle for TV, and it would give the rivalry some flair. I mean, it's literally the complete opposite. One team is wearing black, one team is wearing white, in a stadium full of white. I think that it could look really cool. And not that I think KU's black jerseys are good looking, because I actually think
it's not even that. Some schools, when they have these big time rivalry games, both of them wear a version of their home uniform.
Right.
You see USC and UCLA do it. Utah and BYU do it. Well, you can't really do that with K-State wearing purple and KU wearing blue. But if KU wore red, you sure could do it. Mm-hmm. And KU doesn't have a problem with wearing red jerseys, red uniforms, so they could do it. I think it would be fine. Something's got to give here sooner or later. And
Agreed.
I just think we have to embrace it. We got to dig into this.
You know what I think should happen? I think Avery Johnson should go to the powers that be and say, listen, we're wearing these jerseys and there's nothing that you can do about it. Because if Avery wants to wear it, guess what? They're going to wear it. That's the bottom line.
That's exactly right. He needs to, if he wants it, which I think he does, he needs to go to the coach and say, Coach, we got to do some stuff here. We got to, even if it's pants and helmet changes, we got to do it. Those things don't have to run through Nike. You can order. I mean, Nike can do the pants, no problem. It's the jerseys that take some planning and design, but you could still wear your white jersey. They've done it before. It just takes a little more work, and that seems to be the problem. That's it for the Powercat Podcast. Kansas State and Kansas Saturday night at the Bill. It's going to be fun. It's not Big 12 After Dark. Thank God. But it's going to be an entertaining football game. It's going to be beautiful weather. And when you come to town, you know where you're going first? The Fridge Wholesale Liquor. We appreciate everyone watching and listening. We'll be back in 24 hours with the Powercat pregame podcast to get you properly prepared for the Cats and Hawks. Talk to you soon.
This has been a GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street production. Please support this show by subscribing to this YouTube channel or follow us on your favorite podcast platform.